settle down, please. Thank you, thank you, and thank you very much. We move on to our next serious session now. I'd like to invite Suparna to introduce this session. This is really learning from the experts, the MCCs in the chapter. So we'll request Suparna to introduce the MCCs and the session. Thank you.
Hello. Has everyone had their piece of cake? Oh! Oh, that's tragic. If it helps, neither have I, but just hold on. There's some 3 magical ladies who will do some prophecy. Aa jao.
Yeah, there's Shweta and
Gentlemen at the back, invite you all to settle in.
वो भी join है.
We need Sandhya Mathur.
नहीं, थोड़ा इसको turn करिए. इसको थोड़ा ऐसे करिए ताकि मैं इधर देख सकूं.
Yeah. Cake distribution is fired. Yeah.
Sanjeev was eating there in the corner. Sanjeev was eating the cake behind that screen. We were caught in a compromising place.
Do you have evidence, Abhimanyu? We need evidence. Sandhya, please take your seat.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is Surubhi now? And Shweta?
Invite her. Shweta's here.
Shweta? Oh, okay. Should I know? I need the ladies to be sitting here. Surabhi.
Introduce them, then invite
Right.
them.
Hi. I saved the spot for you.
They're joint chairs. Don't do anything.
हो गया आप झाड़ू बाद में देना रहने दो
Can do.
गुलाब की खुशबू ही आएगी
They're joint. That's why. Yeah.
Good afternoon. Yeah. Hello everyone. Invite you to please bring your focus to the present moment. As we dabble with some occult, we will need to harness all the energy in the room. Welcome to this special session titled Crystal Gazing into the Coaching Landscape of the Future. I'm Suparna Banerjee, for the few who might not know me, chapter member for the last 10 years, vintage edition. And it is my pleasure to introduce the 3 ladies for the session right now. We are past 12 noon, which was the Muhurat. The bewitching hour is still upon us, and we have 3 powerful ladies huddled over an imaginary crystal ball, conjuring the future of coaching. As leadership transforms, as AI reshapes business, and as human complexity deepens, coaching too stands at a powerful crossroad. And today we will hear from 3 master navigators who are not just witnessing this change, but actively shaping it. Welcome, ladies. And buckle up to hear some really nice things about yourself. We'll start with you, Shweta. My most esteemed and dear colleague. Shweta is a trusted boardroom advisor to CEOs, promoters, and leadership teams across India's largest business houses and global Fortune 500 companies. Shweta serves as the chairperson of the ICF Global Enterprise Board, guiding coaching's global enterprise strategy. And her unique lens combines business psychology, applied neuroscience, and organizational foresight, powering her work at Quadra Brain Transformation, where she simplifies complex change into actionable clarity. Welcome, Shweta. Our next participant is Surbhi Singh, MCC, founder and CEO of Energize. Energize. I was going to ask you. I've been practicing it since morning. Okay, Energize Consulting. Surabhi brings over some staggering number of coaching hours and training hours, 5,000, 20,000, empowering leaders and mentor coaches across all credential levels. She's a coach, mentor, educator, and speaker who carries a deep commitment to developing coaches who create lasting impact. There's a fun fact which I read yesterday about you being a radio jockey. Yeah? Which is not here anymore, but I remembered. So welcome, Surabhi. Let's hear it for Surabhi. And finally, Sandhya. Sandhya Mathur, MCC, known as the nurturing master of coaching. Sandhya is a founder of Inward Focus and director of education at Symbiosis Coaching, USA. Sandhya holds a special place in India's coaching journey as the first ever director of credentialing for ICF in India. And her work dives deep into the intangible forces that shape transformation, emotions, energy, inner narratives, and she helps leaders create sustainable, meaningful outcomes. And her upcoming book, Coaching the Invisible, offers a profound lens into how coaching must evolve to work with what is often unseen and yet so powerful. Sandhya.
Thank you.
So, more, no cake, no applause.
I guess everyone needs the sugar in them, right?
So, okay, let's get ready to lean in and listen deeply to the three ladies. The future of coaching starts here. A fun fact before we begin, and this is something which I discovered just yesterday, that crystal gazing, the best time for crystal gazing is actually around the time of the summer solstice, when the sun is at the northernmost placement in the sky, and when the energy of the sun is at its peak, amplifying the vision seen during the crystal gazing.
Well, we
So it's the 14th of June, we are a week away. So there are very good chances of whatever is predicted in the room today will actually come true. Over to you, ladies.
Thank you. We are just a week ahead, right? Thank you, Suparna, and it's definitely a pleasure to be here. Thank you both for coming today. So, let's begin with taking a collective pause here and look at how far coaching has come and where it might be headed. And as master coaches, both of you, you've shaped this space in your own unique style, right? Each one of us has contributed. So, what are you sensing? What are you seeing or envisioning as we step into the next phase of coaching, whether it's in India or in, I think global is a better idea. Shweta, we'd like to just a short something. We'll get into a deeper discussion later. Need a mic?
Where's the crystal ball?
This is the envisioned crystal ball. which works as a mic as well.
So, I'm looking at the crystal ball, speaking into the crystal ball, really. I think the future, I mean, outside of coaching, because as coaching, we serve humanity. We serve the planet, we serve organizations, we serve the future. So first I'd like to, when you ask that, think about what does the future hold? And I think some things that come to mind are the future has systems fragility. We're already seeing that. The future is going to be a space of moral fatigue. And obviously it would be incomplete if I didn't use one of the favorite words in the room. Any guesses what that is? Technology, AI.
Yeah.
But even as we look to all of these, I think this space for coaching will be strengthened as people who shape that future.
Beautiful.
Because we've moved from being fixers to shapers, and I think more and more we need coaches who can shape the dialogue on ethics, on systems, and continually expand people's reflective capability. At a time when thinking is going out of fashion, I think coaches and coaching has the responsibility to continually expand the space for reflection.
That's so beautiful. Thank you. Surabhi, what do you envision?
So, picking up from what Shweta mentioned here, we're sitting here at a time when we have the wisdom from the past, we understand the complexity of today, and we understand the insecurities what tomorrow brings for us. So at this point, from where we all are sitting today, we've got to navigate whatever is coming up in terms of geopolitical situations, in terms of the advent of technology like never before, in terms of fragments of societies getting more broken. I read somewhere the next epidemic could also be loneliness. So we don't know how future and the future generations are going to be unfolding. So here coaching is something that has the power to keep it together. Because it is about generative conversations. It is about the mirror inside my inner self. It is about being the mirror of somebody else's inner self. And I feel that space of higher consciousness, that space of these meaningful conversations, enabling folks to be more vulnerable, that is something which will kind of keep us together. And the way I see it from here, it is a lot about the communities coming together, like the magic we all experienced since morning. It's the power of these communities coming together to shape how coaching is going to be in the times to come. Be it monitoring of compliances, be it monitoring of really understanding what being a professional coach means. If I'm saying, I'm positioning myself, what should I really embody? Is it beyond those competencies and code of ethics, etc.? What is the me that I'm bringing in?
True.
So it is at a stage where, we can't predict it right now, but we can co-create it together.
Yeah, true that.
And thank you. As you described that, I think sparked off another thought about how, like a lot of things, like a lot of humanity and social cycles, we see a cycle in coaching. It always came from a space of depth. In India, we're not used to the idea of coaching. And let me not start talking about the Bhagavad Gita and Lord Krishna here, but it came from a space of depth. And one of the biggest dangers that I see is it moving to a place of coaching as performance. So I think we're at that turning point in the cycle where it came from depth, it became coaching as a performance, and it's returning to depth.
Absolutely.
And that is what we need to preserve. I think now is the time for all of us as coaches to start thinking about what we must preserve as we scale, as we digitize, as we move forward.
Thanks, thank you, because that brings to my mind a thought that when we design coaching from the heart, from the mind, and basically coaching that integrates head and heart and spirit, it becomes less about performance and tweaking performance It's more about personal alchemy, I would say. Yeah. So as we move forward, let's first look at the rear view mirror, because I think all of us have spent some time in this industry, in this profession. And you know how your path has shaped what you believe about coaching today. So when you look back, Shweta, all right, sure. Surbhi, when you look back at your journey as a coach, what do you feel has changed within you and around you?
Yeah, so sometimes I feel like, being the dinosaur from the time
Yeah.
it all started. And when I'm sure a lot of you would remember when we talk about coaching, and it was perceived as academic coaching, with those questions, hey, where are you now moving towards? To the phase where there was a higher awareness about coaching. So for me, when I got into this a while back, it was with the intention of making my profile more sellable, because it was the next big thing that, okay, coaching is going to be something which every learning and development professional should master. But as I got into this, when I experienced the magic for myself, when I had those moments of transformative conversations for myself, then I became somebody who was a champion for coaching. Because it is not, I feel it's not a luxury anymore, it's a language. It is a lot about how we have these conversations, irrespective of whether we are in a confine of a 60-minute session or in a confine of a contract. It's just how you and I would interact. And if you're interacting from that space where I'm not judgmental, I'm listening deeply to you, and I want to understand where you're coming from, and is this something that can be co-created together, where the magic happens in every conversation. So this was something that became a part of me. That became a part of my practice, whether I was with my kids. With my partner, there was a little bit of a difficulty to play the coach role. It is better to be the mentor there. But I noticed how relationships became more meaningful, fruitful for me to be in that space. So that is what I saw changing within myself, that those conversations which used to be transactional are now much more deeper and meaningful. And that's what I started observing around me. But then I'm also observing that there is a certain speed and then market expectation which kind of creates a dichotomy. While we understand what the transformational power is of coaching, having experienced it myself and also in others, there is also a price-sensitive market. There is also a very poor awareness market. So this is what I'm observing around me now, that folks want to work on their areas of development. They want to work with somebody, but they do not know the what and the how, which again makes our role very important as to bring that into the awareness. Look at the markets which are becoming extremely price sensitive, which are kind of pushing the coaches to make certain decisions which might have an impact on them. So yes, this is what's happening here.
True, and all of us as ICF members, we are basically here to create that awareness, right? And what kind of awareness we are creating through our work and all of that is up to us. We'll go dig deeper into that as we move from here.
Yeah.
So Shweta, would you like to add something? And I would love to hear your views on this. What has changed? What has evolved?
Stories, coaching has been an integral part of my story. From those of you who've heard me maybe in other places or know me personally, the seeds of coaching were literally sown into my life where, reflective inquiry was one of the ways in which I healed after completely losing my memory to a traumatic brain injury in 2001. So I think the seeds for coaching, for self-coaching, for reflective inquiry were sown in my life then. And in 2007, when I attended my first formal coach training program, right, one of the things the facilitators did was ask us all to sit in silence for 2 minutes and think. Just that. Be silent for 2 minutes and think. I was in my 20s. I can't tell you how restless I was. I mean, what the hell? Who are we listening to? Why are we silent? Why is this facilitator wasting our time? You know, IBM paid so much money to send me for this international training. What are we doing here? I was so restless. And if you ask me what coaching has changed in my life, I think it was something I learned in that moment, the power of silence. The power of, not instructions, but invitations. Invitations to think, invitations to listen, not answers, but just asking more, just asking deeper questions, just asking questions that take you down places where you don't even want to go. And I think throughout my life, my career and success, coaching has been an integral part of every milestone. It's changed the way I interact with the world, with people. The way I see anyone is the potential, the magic. And I think coaching taught me that, to see the magic in people.
The silence, the power of the pause, the unsaid, sensing that energy, right? So it would be, I guess, correct to say that most of us began with frameworks. I personally started with a reflective journey with, grew up like that. And then went in and, certified myself and all of that. But in general, I would say we may start with frameworks, but presence was and is the real magic, right? And the ability to hold space where another person can actually hear their soul. And that's the transformative power of coaching that you both have just highlighted. And let's come into the now as we've reflected, we've gone into this reflection. Where do you think, some current patterns, some shifts, some buzzwords that are around? So where is coaching making the deepest impact right now, in your opinion? And where are we just scratching the surface? Whoever would like to take the question first.
I think, again, tell you a little story, and I have
Sure.
my stories because I forget them. We'll talk about that age-related problem some other time. When I once coached a very senior gentleman who just lost his job. And with it, he lost his identity. Everyone around him was offering solutions. And even the self-help community was telling him to bounce back. Like, that is a primary instruction. Bounce back as soon as you can. I think one of the things he was most grateful for was that I didn't start creating a bounce back action plan with him anytime soon. I was like, where are you now? So I asked him one question, which I noted down because I remember he highlighted as one of the most important questions, all the millions of questions that we discussed is, who are you when you're not being useful? Just allow you to sit with that for a moment. Who are you when you're not being useful? It's one of the few occasions where I've seen a grown man cry. Not because it was deep, but because no one had asked him who he was when he was not being useful, not just at the workplace, but at his home, everywhere. And coaching, I think the magic of coaching is that it offers people the permission to fall apart and still be worthy. And, I see the biggest value of coaching is it being the place where they go to remember what their value is without tying it to productivity, designation, outcomes, even relationship taglines like being a better father, mother, sister. So I think coaching is the place where people go to find themselves and their worthiness beyond all of the labels that we've been taught are how our values measured.
So
Beautiful.
empowering. Thank you for sharing that one. And I'm sure we all have a lot of stories of our own, what our clients have experienced, the space you could have created for them. I was doing a little bit of reading before I got here, and I noticed there were certain trends, and I thought I'll bring the marketplace figures here for our attention about where we are making an impact and where we still might be scratching the surface. So the 2023 report gives us an idea about how the breakdown of different kind of coaches is from the ones who were surveyed, so about 500 plus surveyed from India. I'm picking up India numbers. Still, the majority of us are in the leadership coaching, executive coaching, business coaching space, which is about 70% plus. Another 10% is in career coaching. Life coaching, life and envisionment coaching, about 9%, I think. Well-being coaching, 1%. Small businesses, 2%. So while we all understand the magic of coaching, the power of coaching, and yes, this is a certain sample size in the entire country, there would be lakhs and lakhs of coaches who would be creating their impact. But there are certain avenues where, with higher awareness, with better positioning, with more understanding, we can create the same kind of impact.
Correct.
So when I started out, of course, I also started out as a leadership coach, as an executive coach, because it was where my clientele was, my audience was. But I started noticing that from those training programs, there were self-sponsored clients who would come to me and would say, so we're willing to engage in a one-to-one coaching conversation with you, but this is all self-sponsored. And there the conversations were so much different than the sponsored conversations that I was kind of accustomed to by then. And then I realized that there is so much more, because here there is a higher awareness, there are budgets, it's easier, and we come from certain backgrounds, it's easier to position ourselves there. We could see a large domination there. However, even this market is growing, so not to worry. I saw another data which said that this is also going to be a $27 billion industry, the executive corporate coaching. But if we look at the well-being space, it is being tagged as a $9 trillion industry in the times to come. So here would be a huge gap where we can skill ourselves. We can notice how we move into those dimensions and see that are we moving into different verticals? Are we moving into different niches? And for this, what is super important is that we continuously develop ourselves, because the power of those transformative conversations, it is important that as coaches, we have our own reflective practices, which will enable us to have those deeper conversations. So the continuous development, very important, looking at the emerging landscape. The founders coaching is coming up again as a big theme. So those could be still the areas which are yet untapped, but are very promising.
True.
If I may just, and thank you for bringing forth that data. I think that's another one of those cycles, like I was saying.
Yeah.
There was coaching for, and really I'm talking about early days, much before the Delhi chapter was even created, where life coaching had a lot more prominence,
Absolutely.
right? But a lot of these studies have a sample size which involves the people who are members of professional bodies, credentials. I think there's a certain subcategory of coaching that got more attracted to that. And that's why we see some of the samples there. But we're again, I mean, at the last conference, and even though it was one of those formal coaching conferences, I met a 26-year-old training to be a coach, not for corporate clients, but to support climate activists facing burnout. That's specific. Climate activists facing burnout. She said, the world doesn't need another productivity hack. It needs people who can hold the grief of what's being lost and still help us imagine something better. And that sentence of hers, I asked permission to write that down. It needs people who can hold the grief of what's being lost and still help us imagine something better. That to me is the future of coaching. Thank you. The cycle has come a full circle. We're expanding again. and something I think very pertinent that Sandhya said, and I'll share another data point with you. I don't know how many of you noticed, our dear colleague Jonathan Passmore has published another research. And guess what he found? Anybody read that research, the latest one, where they tried people working with a real AI coaching bot and tested the outcomes of that against the competencies of, anybody else read that study? Okay, Kaushik did. You want to share a line about that quickly?
Yeah, like I think it was doing great in terms of being an ACC and a PCC coach.
Not a PCC.
I mean, mostly an ACC and some part of the PCC competencies, but yeah.
Yes. So the bot they were testing managed to clear the coaching credential exam for ACC also, and managed to deliver ACC level coaching. Honestly, I'm not surprised, because that's what I was talking about when I say coaching as a performance. And I think what Sandhya was talking about when she spoke about frameworks. I was fortunate to not, the framework wave came much later.
Yeah.
I got coached in other methodologies. I learned ontological coaching before any framework, and I think I owe a lot of mastery credit to that. And I will invite you also to continually, as Surbhi said, look at upskilling and enhancing yourself, because framework and model-based coaching, ACC level
it.
coaching,
That's it.
that's going to get automated, guys. Let's be honest. What we do beyond that, that's where the magic lies.
True that. And I completely agree with the two of you. You know, I started coaching, and yes, it was education, full-time in education, but the really meaningful conversations were with people who came for coaching themselves. And these were women where I was working with them on their careers, business plans, relationships, perhaps in some cases even grief. And these were long assignments, that went on for some time, because, I mean, I'm not saying that those 6 or 8 sessions that we do in the corporate world, they are meaningless. They have their value. I see your smile. We've had a discussion about this, but the point is that's value. But the transformation in all the areas of their lives, when I look at that and they still talk to me once in 2 months, it's amazing. So what happened, and are we, I know we are getting back there. This space for that deep personal transformation, especially, it's really required. We all know that. And if the ACC's kind of structured coaching can be done by a bot, what is it that we need to do?
I think we need to do what we were always doing.
Yeah.
And
The
even as I say ACC level coaching, I think the ACC is a useful place for us to start and get confidence in our capabilities. And that again reminds me of a story where somebody I know who used a bot for their coaching said something very powerful. They said, I tried chatting with a chatbot coach. It gave me very good questions, but they didn't make me feel braver.
Exactly.
That's what you do.
Feel.
And I think that statement stayed with me as the difference. I think what we need to do is continually remind ourselves of why. I mean, when I ask most people why they became coaches, it's because they wanted to serve other people in some way.
Absolutely.
So when we remind ourselves of that, and I often say this as coaches, this is something that we hold. Truly. We hold the power to change this. Even when the reason I was smiling, Sandhya, is I've also seen the time when leadership development plans had 3 coaching sessions.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm grateful for it. I'm like, yeah, thank God.
It's
they're
at least
asking
6
for
to 8.
So I've seen the age of 3 coaching sessions per leader. And that's where nah, nothing's changing in 3 coaching sessions. But I invite
It still
us.
exists.
Yeah, it does.
It does.
And I invite all of us as coaches to serve the transformation and not the dashboard. Think about it. I mean, one of the early messages to me as a coach was to serve the person and trust that the results will follow. Somewhere, we've forgotten that. We worry so much about the results that we stop serving the person the exploration. And after years, I mean, I'm not a board advisor, I'm a board coach. After years of choosing to just ask questions, I'm going to assure you that the dashboard will be served when you trust the process.
Absolutely.
If you stay with the exploration, the results will come. And when we can do that, there's nothing that can come in our way.
Absolutely.
And
Surabhi?
totally agree with what Sandhya and Shweta you both shared. So at that initial level, when we're building the foundation as new coaches, it is important to have some structure because we've got to unlearn a lot of stuff when we become a coach. We have to unlearn the urge to give an advice. We have to unlearn the urge to maybe rush or control or figure out how can we create outcomes for the clients. So it really helps us be there. And yes, maybe AI has also developed that skill to this level. But the next level, how do I define? It's like the alchemy, where the conversations are happening when the client feels something. And as Shweta mentioned, the feeling of courage, the feeling of some excitement, the feeling of being all right with the fact that, all right, I accept myself for who I am. And knowing that the other person, the person on the other side also gets it because maybe sometime in their life, they have felt hurt, frustrated, happy, excited, tearful. So knowing that is where this alchemy gets created. So this is the time for us again to notice what's going to matter the most. And as Shweta mentioned, it's those questions. Those questions will come from our presence, how present I am as a coach, how comfortable I am with not knowing what's going to happen, how
Not
comfortable
trying to
I
fix
am.
something.
I don't have to be a fixer or a rescuer, or I can't bring my own set of what the outcomes are going to be. So the more we are in that space of managing ourselves more, learning about our own biases, being fully present, I'm sure the experience for the client would be something that would be pure magic. So I'm sure that we have few more years to go by the time there could be a replication for this, we don't know. But if we're continuously working on ourselves, if you look at how economies have progressed, there was commodity, then there was branding, there was experience, and today it's a lot about transformative economy. And that's what Surekha shared with us in one of the conversations, and I kind of stayed with me, that this is the time when we are looking for experiences, but the next stage is looking for transformation. And if you are in conversations with these earlier career folks, folks yet in their 20s, you would notice that they have a huge desire to work on themselves, to become better. So noticing how generationally there is a higher acceptance of being able to work with somebody, to maximize my potential. I mean, we still have a lot of scope to be able to create those conversations and space for them.
True that. And if I had to summarize what you both have said, I would say it in one sentence. The presence, the mindset, everything, and our self-awareness as coaches. It would be absolutely, yes, the frameworks work, but exploration, as you said, comes first, and then the competencies will be met. So personally, I believe that coach the intangible, the emotional and the spiritual depth to achieve the tangible, the measurable goal perhaps, because coaching is about potential. We always define coaching as saying that it brings forth the best potential. Now the potential lies within, right? It's not outside somewhere, it's not in that goal. So the shift inside is so imperative to achieve that. What is that journey that will take me to perhaps buy a new car if that's my goal, right? that financial stability, that strength. So lots, that can, I mean, we can have this discussion for hours. And now let's gently move into gazing into this crystal or whichever crystal we are visualizing. And of course, not with certainty, Suparna, with curiosity. No predictions here. Yeah, no certain predictions. Yeah, yeah. So maybe repetitive. We've covered some of this, but what is that one question? We've covered this in the last 5 minutes, but that one question to stay relevant in the coming years, coming decade. So, would you like to take that first?
In the coming decade, and this is a question, you know, I asked ChatGPT a while back. Should I be worried about you? And
Was it an authentic answer?
I hope so, because I'm going by that. And the answer I got was that, no, you need not be worried, but you need to be more aware. And you need to be able to create your own uniqueness, because that's going to be your distinguishing factor. What's your uniqueness? And again, it goes back to the same thing, which is becoming more reflective about my own practice, about what is emerging as an emerging landscape or the ecosystem for coaching now, reimagining things, recalibrating things. And somewhere here, making technology a friend and ally. It's like the co-pilot here. And with that co-pilot, seeing that how the processes can be made more efficient for us to be able to serve our clients even better. So my 2 cents here would be is to focus on our own uniqueness, on what are we focusing as our target audience, our skill building, our continuous reflective practices, and staying in touch with how the world is evolving now.
Thank you. Shweta, can I add a little question to that? So that, yeah. What do we've just had this discussion about AI also. So what must we hold sacred and what can we let go going forward?
Oh, I think I'll eventually end up there. But what I wanted to start by saying is stop getting distracted. I mean, this may go counterintuitive to a lot of stuff that we hear. Stop getting distracted by yourself. Just stop getting distracted. Yes, we need self-work. We need to expand our awareness. We need to do all of that in our own time to upskill ourselves. But there is so much attention being redirected to the coach's presence, and the coach is this and the coach is that. Stop getting distracted by yourself, and when you completely surrender to being in service to the person sitting across from you. I mean, when I started coaching, one of the framing sentences for what coaching is was being able to see people as whole, complete, and capable of finding their own solutions. So somewhere we got distracted by all the things that coaches should not do, that I see more and more coaches worried about that.
And that's why the stress about the exam and the submissions.
You know, it brings me to something I wrote about coaching mindset some time back, that it's not something you turn on or off. It's something you become. And it's rooted in curiosity, it's rooted in respectful presence, it's rooted in deep trust and being reflective around people. Yes, you don't have to be that all the time, so just putting that disclaimer there. But yes, our self-work is to continue because we need to clear the cobwebs out of our own heads. But in your coaching practice, get out of your own way is the one thing that I'll always say. What we must hold sacred, to bring it to the question, is the client. That's who we must hold sacred. The client and being of service to the client. When you have these two as your central grounding thoughts, the rest of it tends to figure itself out.
True. Your adaptability, your vulnerability, and just being.
That's actually our attraction to trying to reduce everything to a formula.
Yeah.
But you
Doesn't
can't.
work.
You can't. No formula, no competency model, nothing is going to capture everything. But surrendering to being in service will allow you to be there.
And this is, to add to this is something I ask the new coaches, folks about to get into coaching, what's your reason? Why do you feel that you want to be in this space? I also ask seasoned coaches when they come for different conversations, is your why still the same? What has shifted? What has changed? Is it becoming stronger? What is evolving for you? And definitely the compass points towards the client. It's still a lot about how I'm able to contribute to another human being. So there's a beautiful saying, when you meet a human, be a human. And I think so that's what we
Beautiful.
all, that's what
Thank
we
you
all
for that.
aspire for, yes.
Beautifully said. And in fact, the framework that we are talking about should be a tool. It can't be a substitute for whatever we are out here to do, right? So, yes, and that's been such a lovely discussion into the past, connecting it to the present and into the future. One aspect about the future. And I'd like you all to pause a little bit, because before we close, I'd like us to imagine something a bit uncomfortable. What if 10 years ahead, we are looking into the crystal, right? But let's visualize this. What if 10 years later, there was no coaching as a profession? What if people seeing it as something valuable, maybe organizations who are really into it moved on? Basically, I'm saying, what if coaching became irrelevant? What would be untouched? What would be undone? How will it be? How will it affect people's lives?
I may start by wanting to disagree with one of the words in the question, which is irrelevant. Coaching may morph, it may change, but even as I imagine, I don't think it can ever be irrelevant. And while, let's be honest, coaching is not the only profession that holds space for reflective inquiry, for reflection, for looking deeper. There are a number of other practices and professions which hold space for that too. But even as I say that, I think if we lose coaching for whatever reason, and it would most probably not be irrelevance, it may be misunderstanding, misrepresentation, oversaturation, many other reasons.
All right.
But if we lose coaching, we would lose a way of holding people without rescuing them. If we lose coaching, fewer people would be seen without judgment. Fewer people would be challenged without shame. And fewer people would be reshaped without receiving any advice at all.
Wow, that is so beautiful. And your question really, it's made me super uncomfortable. Imagine a world without coaching, because that is one of the identities that has become a part of me so much,
Yeah,
being
it's
a
fun.
coach. But yes, I totally, I'm in sync with what Shweta is saying. It may morph. We've already heard in different versions. We hear about moaching, mentoring, coaching combination. Yeah, that's a new one. I heard it
Wow.
from a client.
I
Yes.
hadn't heard of that. As long as there isn't a coaching.
Yeah. So I'm thinking what coaching counseling might eventually become. Huh? So yes, we're hearing different combinations that are coming up as there are different organizations, individuals, different segments who are experiencing coaching. So yes, as long as there is a space for people to know that I can share, I can explore, I can create something for myself. If that is happening, and maybe the format changes, maybe the title changes, it's fine. But if the space is taken away, uh, I was just remembering something that a client said that, Surabhi, I have not had this conversation even with myself ever. And I'm sure that you would have had these experiences where the clients would have come and told you, this is something I haven't discussed with anybody, ever. And I didn't even know this existed in me. So that sacred space, that still needs to be explored. So whatever format it takes, whatever shape it takes, I feel that this space should be available for people to work with experts who can help them navigate through whatever they're navigating through in life. But again, due to misinformation, misconduct, malpractices, incorrect information, if the impact of what coaching can promise is taken away, then that would be a very sad moment for all of us here who want to create something for the generations to come. Yeah.
So do you think we need to protect something and nurture something here so that it stays on, knowing how we live coaching?
So I've always felt that all of us have a huge role to play here. A huge role to play here in terms of creating that awareness in what it does, what it doesn't do, in being able to share the right information, in being fully present with our client, knowing them that they hold all the potential, they hold all the meaning that can unlock so many things for themselves. So if we are consistently creating those levels of awareness, excelling in the ways we practice, demonstrating that professional conduct, if we continue to follow the core values that define our profession so well, we would be the brand ambassadors of what coaching is in times to come. So I think we all have a very important role to play here. Different chapters have done a lot of awareness creation already, but I think so it's all of us who are representing this profession of coaching in our own ways to different segments.
So well said. Beautiful. And I would say, just to summarize what you both have just said, that, we are not just coaches. It's not just a profession. We are mirrors, bridges, and very quiet, silent revolutionaries, right? Bringing about change, bringing about transformation. And yes, we need the tools, but what else? So let's close with a final thought from both of you. Unless there is something that I have left out and you would like to add. Anything.
My final thought is, I think, I said this before, every coach really impacts what happens to coaching. Every single coach. So I will remind us all to continue to serve the transformation and not just the dashboard.
Yeah, very powerful, Shweta. And again, for me to summarize here, and I don't think so, Sandhya, you left anything uncovered because we spoke about where we started from. I'm sure the ones who've been here for a decade or more, being a coach, we didn't think we'll have what we have today. So similarly from here, we don't know what the future will bring for us, but we all have that very important role to play. Just like that starfish, we keep on putting one starfish back, and at least it impacts that starfish. So that's something that we can continue to create. I feel now there's a lot of responsibility on educators, on assessors, on mentors, on supervisors, because it is, again, the quality of coaching. It is making the coaches become more aware of what could be their areas of development. So I feel that we all have to own it. And once we own it, then we'll see how we can co-create something.
Beautiful, beautiful. And you know, there's been so many discussions about AI and what will happen. It's, you write anything, AI can write it for you. So content writers are very scared that their jobs are going to go away. Coaches are scared that their jobs are going to go away. But personally, after this discussion especially, I do believe that the future of coaching isn't about replacing human with machines. Not anytime soon. It's really about us becoming fully human with sharper minds, softer hearts, and deeper spirit. Yes, enabled by technology, but that's not the main thing. So it would be, where I come from, my approach, I do believe that neuroscience, emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence, going into the depth, are the tripod on which coaching as a profession stands. And that might just evolve. That's what my crystal says. Yes. Thank you. And it's been an absolute pleasure having this conversation with both of you. Thank you, Shweta. Thank you.
Let's hear it from the audience. Big applause.
Yes, of course, we do. We do. We clap for ourselves as well. Thank you for being such a fantastic audience. And that was silence to inspiring silence. I mean,
there is, if I may, a very broad clue about the future of coaching right on the stage here. Build on that, please. Synonyms.
SSS.
The future of coaching is feminine. I think everything which three of you spoke about today was about this holding, this capacity to cradle, to care, for compassion and empathy. I mean, we are not going to exclude the men in the room from these qualities.
Not at all.
So definitely, and yes, women, it comes to women very organically. There are 3 women on the stages. There's something very powerful about that. So here's to feminine coaching.
Thank you.
And,
hadn't thought of
and
that
to
angle.
lunch, now lunch. Thank you everyone for holding the space in the audience. All their names start with
I
an
would
S.
love to record that.
Surabhi. She wants.
Well,
You
the
contradict
inward
yourself,
focus-
Shweta.
the
It was all
inward
about the
focus
heart. All right, guys. Wish you all
Very
a
well,
very
sir.
pleasant and delicious lunch. Let's get on with it. Thank you, ladies. Yeah? No, no. It's 1:30. No.
You learn so
Okay, we are
much
late.
from each other.
A 20-minute session, and then we'll have a nice networking lunch. And Rajneesh and Sanjeev has curated an amazing menu. And when you come back, after that, we are going to have the cultural and entertainment section. So we just can't blend both. So hold on for 20 more
you.
minutes and dive in to leveraging coaching with personality inside. Because once you come back, the set would be different. We'll have dance. We have a lot of other cultural events. Yeah. Where is he? Bulado, okay? Right. Yeah, yeah. Why don't you say? I don't know him much. Yeah, yeah.
while we are setting up, let me acknowledge a very special person who is there in the room. And I'll take help from Leela to acknowledge him.
Well, I couldn't just stop myself from taking this opportunity. We have Shyam Malhotra. Friends, please raise your hand. He's our first MCC of our chapter.
No,
And
Leela,
it's
that is me.
Okay.
First MCC.
Is Shweta, I'm sorry, but Shyam sir, can you
All
come
of
here?
Northern, Northeastern. So people just kind of forget I was the 6th MCC in this country.
Look
And
at
the
it.
first
Now
MCC.
we get to know about this.
But Shyam has been my coach, so.
Wow.
Shyam
Wow.
Malhotra,
So we've got
कुछ
such
बचा हमको पहनाने के लिए. Mine.
May I request everyone to please sit down? Please have a
One
seat.
correction, we have Shweta was the first. My apologies for not spelling out. But one of them is Shyam Malhotra. Let's recognize and acknowledge.
Hi. Thank you very much for that acknowledgement. And she got it a little bit wrong, just a couple of words. Okay. Thank you. I did. The correction is that I'm one of the first MCCs, not the first MCC. Got it? Got the correction? Yes. Wonderful.
Actually, I am holding it, but you can go ahead and take the stick.
May I request everyone to please have a seat? We'll just continue and quickly finish. Okay? Everyone. Hello everyone, please have a seat.
Hello everyone, ladies and gentlemen, are you hearing us? Could you please take your seat so that we can start the next session with it for 20 minutes only, and after that there'll be lunch. So why don't you start, Amitabh?
As Maya Angelou said, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Today we are incredibly fortunate to have our sponsor, Threefish team, with us, whose generous support helps make this event successful. And joining us as our spotlight speaker, Anubha Khanna, Director Coaching and Development, Threefish. As Director Partnership, I, on behalf of Delhi NCR, ICF Delhi NCR chapter, would like to welcome Anubha on the stage. Please introduce Rajesh.
It's my honor to introduce someone who believes in the infinite potential of human beings. Her coaching approach helps leaders reflect deep personal insights coming from taking action and exploring possibilities with themselves. As Director Coaching and Development, she leads the coaching and leadership development practice at Threefish. Anubha brings over 2 decades of rich and multi-sectoral and multicultural HR and OD and business experience to her work with individuals and organizations. She has set up OD function in BPO, led operations of a large-scale change program, designed several leadership programs for school leaders and corporate leaders. Anubha is a PCC, a master trainer, master assessor in Hogan, systems thinking, human process facilitations. She's an MBA in human resource from KJ Somaya and philosophy, MA in philosophy and economics from Lucknow University. She's a member of Global Society of Organizational Learning and International Coaching Federation. Anubha is interested in learning about new culture and practices and is interested in reading and cooking. But above all, she's interested in traveling. And I was having a chat with her, and she said she's a very avid traveler of the inner world. Isn't that interesting, ladies and gentlemen? I give you Anubha Khanna.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you, Rajesh. I am, needless to say, extremely honored to be here. This is a very, very pristine event. Congratulations to the ICF chapter, Delhi NCR, and thank you for having us. I think we at Threefish are extremely honored. We are always, this is our tribe. This is one of the tribes we are part of, and you nurture us and we nurture you. At Threefish, we believe in this whole thing of tribes, and since morning we're talking communities and tribes. And so it feels like what Debashi said, and her messages have been saying as well. It's a homecoming. So that's the intention and the energy with which I'm here. As I say this as Anubha, I also bring the same message from Pradnya. Pradnya has not been here because she's in Pune. She was doing some stuff and she couldn't make it this weekend. But she sends her wishes to the chapter and all the members, and she's here in spirit. Joining me, of course, are my team members from Threefish, and they're here to be part of the celebrations as well. We've been having very interesting conversation. The previous panel was extremely touching. Getting to the core of why each one of us, in the heart of our hearts, is probably in this profession, right? Being the humans that we are. And I think that's something that resonates most with me in everything that's been happening today since morning. So I'm feeling privileged, and I know I'm going to keep you away from lunch for at least the next 15-20 minutes. But they say who you are is how you lead, right? That's what Hogan's all about, and that's the foundational statement there. And who I am, right? I'll try and keep it brief, and I'll sort of talk to you a little bit about why and what is the value of using personality in coaching. A little bit Rajesh talked about me, but my story really is as a coach. Again, I got into coaching many, many years ago, very informally inside of organizations, not knowing that I was coaching, yeah? And, but again, leading from who I am, right? My heart and my spirit, and it took me places. I left the corporate, went and worked with public sector leaders, coached school leaders, government leaders, coached young professionals who we called fellows. Did that for a long time, and I realized that there was something that I was doing that had a lot of energy and spirit, but there was something missing in whatever I was doing. And at that point, the realization or the reflection came is that I needed to bring more reliable science, practice, and frameworks to whatever I was doing. And that's what got me to come back, in a way, to this space. I feel fortunate to have encountered Hogan. Of course, Dr. Pradnya and I know each other for a very long time, and so fortunate that she invited me into the journey, though we wanted to do OD. And along the way, coaching happened. I think just the intention I created after the second phase of my career in working with, public sector leaders, to saying, I want to bring the best in the world, most scientific, reliable work to leadership, which has been my area of work all along. And in this little tiny presentation, what I want to sort of share with you is that in my work in the last 8-9 years at Threefish, one of the things that I've learned and I've sort of contributed back into the community, and I work in the corporate community. I do a little bit of work outside. I work with schools even now, and some doctors, is helping become self-aware. And that is one of the core things we help our whoever we coach do. Um, Making that awareness based on data has really helped, at least me in my experience, guide in a more confident and a reliable way insights for people. Of course, with time, I'm also realizing, and I've said that, assessments give us a good base. And once you know you're standing on a good base, then you can confidently do what you need to do. And that's where really what the panel brought out, in the last half hour resonated with me is being the human that you are and connecting with the other human, being of service and having those conversations can yield and can lead to uncovering that potential and so possibilities for the future. But to me, that happens with a lot more confidence when I'm standing on a strong base. One of the base elements is me. So who am I, right? And how deeply am I in touch with myself? The other is also what I'm offering to my client. Not just the authentic me, but also the tools and references and frameworks that I bring in. How scientific are they? And that's sort of the backdrop to this work. We at Threefish, most of you should know us. We almost all the time part of ICF events, so I'm assuming a lot of you know us. A small team, Dr. Pradnya Parashar founded it. It was her dream. She was responsible, of course, for bringing Hogan to India. And her dream has always been, as a psychologist, to help organizations bringing the science of organizational psychology, right? And that's what she did with this organization. We are a small team, and we work with a variety of organizations, of course, master distributors for Hogan. And today I want to introduce, and there are a lot of people in the room who already know it. So I'm just a student, and if we have time and offline, absolutely engage with all the others who have been certified and who are already masters, in this area of work. But, how can personality help you in coaching? And, I'll share my thought, but really, when we think personality, what's personality? Personality is what? Behaviors, actions. It shows up in the way we drive change, we execute on work, performance, build relationships. And when we're thinking behaviors, there are really two sides to our personality, right? There is our behaviors. There is the way I see myself, and there's the way the world sees me. We all work in the world of work, and that's what makes reputation, or the way the world sees us or our context sees us, makes it relevant, right? Going back into research, we know that there is a fair bit of research on measurement of reputation, but not a lot of efficacious research on measuring of identity, right? And here we're talking measurement, reliability, validity, and hence the value of looking at reputation, which is how others see us, which is also another way of saying what's the impact we create in the world of work, right? We know from science that a leader's personality shows in the way they lead, how they work in teams, and therefore how organizations perform. So there's a direct correlation. Just like I said, in my coaching, I bring this, and what this has helped me do. I just thought I'll share an example. We're all coaching, and this is a slightly sort of long-term coaching that I was given some time back, and this is a leader who is getting ready to step into a CXO role. She's a technologist, and very smart leader, and you'll see her Hogans, and she's, very leader-like, very bright, very intelligent, is able to think ahead, big picture, vision, very, very driven. However, the feedback that she's been getting for a while is that when she's, she has tons of ideas, but she's unable to prioritize, and she's unable to, take one idea to closure. And that's becoming one of her, things that's coming in the way. I met her, and she comes across as this really self-aware person, and, just those of you in the room who understand the Hogans, and I'll talk about that a little bit, it's the assessment I use, right? You can use any personality assessment, but this is what I use in my work. And very self-aware, someone who is very happy to do work with herself, comes across as very balanced, confident, calm, has a vision, all of that. But what the Hogans actually pointed me towards and helped her see herself, which she was not doing, was really that the fact that she was unable to prioritize ideas, and the fact that she was unable to plan and that she was very ad hoc, right? She had tons of things and she was not planning. That is what was coming in the way. And that's what the Hogans helped her see. And also kind of helped her see that because she was thinking so much, and her mind was full of ideas and that she was so excited about them, she was not thinking about the others. And that was coming in the way for her to build a team under her and so that she could step up to larger different roles. And that's what the data informed, right? And then of course there was coaching, and it starts with, like all of you all know, a development plan. What data-based insights help us do is that they give us insights on very specific actions to keep, stop, and start. And again, there's no point in my reading it all, but that's what the Hogans helped do, is to keep doing work with her awareness that she has. Having new ideas, knowledge and all is good, but she needs to stop ideating after a while. So strategies in terms of when do I when do I stop, and how do I not constantly think and have a plan of execution, and also become aware. And I think that was probably her most important realization through the conversation, that she was so stuck in herself that she was unable to look at other people. And therefore, very quickly, she moved into saying, I want to start looking at growing and developing people. And she had then gone out and started to identify one or two people. And then the coaching sort of revolved around that. So very quickly, in the first one or two conversations, you're able to arrive at a very, very strong plan. I think that's the other thing that I see data-based insights do in coaching. Yeah? And of course, from here on, who you are as a coach takes over, whatever may be your approach, whether it's performance, whatever other methodology you use, and who you are is what takes over. So really what I'm saying is, looking at personality assessments can provide you very reliable and very predictive insights. What does this help do? This helps raise awareness, which is a foundational work that we as coaches do, right? It's an ICF competency too. More importantly, it helps kind of shine light on blind spots. There may be blind spots which they are acknowledging but not looking, whatever. But it helps bring light there. And it gets very sharp and clear when it comes to providing feedback on behaviors. So a very powerful thing that a personality insight can do is steer clear of judging and bringing the focus on behavior, because that's really what creates the change. Yeah, of course it supports creating goals which are very actionable, that are driving leadership impact. In the world of work, it's really impact that matters, right? It's how I'm leading, how effective I am. And that's what a personality assessment can inform, to help behaviors to dial up, dial down, make the right choices, build those insights and integrate roles with actions. Yeah. So that's the relevance of bringing here. Now, when we present data to people, there can be one of these three things that can happen. Either it will confirm what they think of themselves, right? We are all self-aware. We've been working for so long. They'll get a confirmation. They might also think that, okay, if they were to modify what they think of themselves, there is no threat to their self-esteem. So that's also good news. But the third could be bad news. It contradicts what they think of themselves. And that's where we will hear often people saying, I don't agree. Yeah, your whatever. This assessment doesn't talk about it. So, or doesn't tell me who I am. And that can create, a potential distress. Now that's an interesting, where the people first two cases where people agree, that's a good news, right? But where they disagree, that's really where our responsibility as people who are working with an assessment becomes really important. Because it's not about putting them in a box and getting them to convince that you are like this because the assessment says so. Because they are the masters of their life. At best, as a certified person in any tool, I can only say what the data says. But I'm not a master as a coach in their life, right? So there's a lot of responsibility that rests on us, and so we will say handle that with care. And that's the time where I think who you are as a coach becomes really important. Very importantly, all assessments are also in a context. And when the third thing happens, my learning is that context is king at that point in time. To talk to them and get them to saying, okay, how do those behaviors play out in their context is what can really unveil a lot of the blind spots and maybe even mindsets, challenges, issues that they may be holding in their mind. As people who use assessments in coaching, it's very important to decide that you will use or you won't use, and that whichever assessment you use is reliable and valid, and has an impact on executive coaching. We would say that strongly because, again, we come from a space of science and especially organizational psychology. We'll say whatever tool you use, any tool that does not ask you for a certification, stay away from it. Because you don't know what's the science behind it. And as people who are holders of the space, who are in service of our clients, I think that's a very important element, right? As humans that we hold for them. So get certified in whatever tool that you wish to use. Be wary of tools that don't require you to be certified. Yeah? Since I'm from Hogan, a little about Hogan. Hogan has many years of research. It's based on science. There are 3 assessments. They are based on sound academic theories. Hogan has a very, very sound research behind them, which leads to the predictiveness of what they measure. Just some numbers. They've been around for 35 years. Over 11 million people have taken assessments. It gets interpreted through only certified folks. Available in multiple languages, so it has a global appeal. And when you work with your clients who are multi-locational, it's a great tool to use. They have very sound research. It's written in journals, in research articles, books. There are various benchmark studies and job solutions available as well. So it has application in the entire talent space from an organization's perspective, from selection all the way to development. The Hogan's measure really, core values for a person and how people behave when they put their best foot forward and when they experience stress. One of the most important aspects that Hogan's research brought out was measurement of the dark side. That's the reason why organizations would choose to use Hogan, is to help people understand that there are these behaviors under stress which play out and can create ineffectiveness or come in the way of effectiveness, right? That's what it helps bring out most significantly. As a combination, it helps us look at a whole person. And again, as coaches, that's one of the elements that we're looking for when we're looking at a person, right? We're coaching a leader. We're looking at the leader as a whole. So in my experience as well, Hogan's have given me that, a comprehensive view for a leader. On the side, I do always laugh with Pradnya, who's a master, of course, and I'm a practitioner, and I tell her, I said, did Dr. Hogan know that there was a spiritual angle to what he created? And then I remind myself that maybe it's the lens I bring. But it's helped me at least go into the various elements, the 3 pods that you all were talking here on stage, using this. But that's on the lighter side. But really, at the core of it, of what the message that I'm giving is, who you are is how you lead. A personality assessment can help you uncover that in the context of the individual and help build strategic self-awareness. It helps move from so what to now what for a leader. As coaches, you're aware of this cycle is when you build awareness, you're able to help target behaviors, help create the change. And as coaches, you help make this a cyclical process so that you make them independent and that you can move on to the next person to whom you're contributing, right? And that's really the whole approach. And in the process, you help people uncover, what are some habitual patterns, mindsets, internal resistance, reasons for facing inaction, right? So, if I have to pull this all together, just one thing. If the future is what the panel talked about, which is about the generative conversations, potentialities, crystal gazing, I think a sound personality assessment is a gateway to that. It can help you open doors for those possibilities, for those conversations. And that's really how I have found, bringing a personality assessment in coaching help and support in my work. I think that's pretty good. How long did I take? 20 minutes? I hope I ran fast and I gave a good perspective. If there are any reflections from the room, we can take maybe 1 or 2 reflections, if any. I know there are tons of people here who work with the Hogan or personality assessment. But if there's a reflection, otherwise that's all I had to say. Yes, please, go ahead, sir.
I just wanted to ask the 3 points which you had. You said to apply care for the 3rd point and then apply context. Wouldn't the first 2 also have context?
Always.
So if you can elaborate the care part there, like how
Yeah, absolutely. I think the care is understanding that I am not the master of their lives. They are the masters of their own, right? Even if they agree, they see it from their lens, never from mine. So as somebody who's using an assessment, I can only understand and interpret the data, right? And it's all the backdrop is really their role, their job, their environment in which they're working. And so that becomes the backdrop. So context is always the case. But it's important what I'm using. In handle with care is to know this, that I have a responsibility. Thank you for asking. All right. If there are no other questions or reflections, we can close. Is that good? All right. Thank you. And so I can step away from coming in between your lunch and networking conversations. It's been a pleasure being here. Thank you for listening in so patiently. I appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you, Anubha. And I would like to also thank you, Threefish team, especially Pradnya, whom I first called up that I need your support. And she said, we are friends. We are always there. And also, I would like to thank Indrani and her team. Please, Indrani, please come. Please come, yeah. Please come, yes. So she has been supporting during this entire conversation. So I would like to invite Devishi, our president, to felicitate both of them.
Oh my, thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, Anubha and Indrani. And Pradna always says that, Devishi, this is a learning community. It started as a learning community. So whatever that we can do to keep it that way and learn and grow, we are always there. And thank you so much for being here and adding to it. And I'm sure that we'll stay that way. And we will. You have to come back for the celebration that we're going to have throughout the year. So thank you very much. Small token from us. Yeah. आप smile करोगे तो ठीक है. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For your kindness.
Thank you. Welcome home. Thank you.
Thank you for welcoming me. Thank you so much.
And finally, some much-awaited lunch break. So we break for lunch till about 2:30. We get back at 2:30. Is that okay? Is that okay? lunch is right here, so you can please grab your lunch here. 2:30.
Shweta, finished 12th. So the quality will be good. Yeah, it's the main. You are doing it. Yeah. But Delhi is quite far away. So, and Chennai campus is very.
You know, this is the beautiful thing about the ICF community. We can all feel at home in each other's homes. So this feels like, it's say ICF Chennai chapter happening, which turned 10 last year, but I think we didn't do like a mega celebration. And I think celebration is so important in milestones like this. I want to just say one thing. I have seen the chapter ICF Delhi over several years, probably in the last decade. And from an outside-in perspective, I see a beautiful metamorphosis happening, and the chapter really growing from strength to strength. And I don't see this based on your, awards or accolades or things like that. Thank you, and I understand the food's important as well. So I was just saying that I've seen a beautiful metamorphosis happen over the last several years, and a couple of things that strike me from the outside: the vibrancy of the chapter. There is just so much of love that I just walked in, and I cannot tell you how good I feel, and I really mean it. I don't say things that I don't mean. And that love, that vibrancy is critical for the coaching profession, especially in the times in which we live, in addition to all of the cutting edge work, left brain stuff. So please keep that alive, my friends, because I think that's what makes communities, the warmth, the inclusion. I certainly feel so included. Sorry for just gate crashing, but I feel very included and very loved. So please keep that going. And my wish for you is that in your 10th year or soon enough, you guys will win an award. Yeah, awards are not the end point of anything, but I think it's a great milestone to celebrate. So I wish you that. And I see you poised, not just this celebration, but all your initiatives that I'm seeing over the last, I would say, two years for sure, where I've been more closely involved, Radha Khanji's team, and then now Debeshi and team. Great work. And please keep that going. Do real projects, the real stuff that happens. And of course, I would always say you guys have an additional advantage of having board chair on your chapter. And I would just say, please tap into all of that because these are great. So I know Shweta is hiding, but this is not to pull her leg. I really mean it. So all the best, my friends. And I want to just say that if any way I can be of service to this community, of any of you personally, please reach out, because I think we are far more connected than different. We may be from different parts of the country, but I think all that's in our head. So I do wish to come back here for another celebration when you are all cheering for your collective award and milestone together. Don't forget to invite me. Thank you.